it is truly beautiful to study the Word of Yahweh. Truly beautiful, and to study it in a way where you're under Ruach HaKodesh, to receive it in a deeper level, to see how much He loves us. He loves us so much we should not have any fear. We know how much He loves us by how much He gave. And He gave His only begotten Son. His Word is truth. His Word is the sustenance of all things. His Word created things seen and unseen, and it sustains us. Psalm 90:4. 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it's past, and like a watch in the night. So we got the Bereshit, the first beginning of the book is 7 words. And those 7 words, each word represents 1,000 years. I'm going to read it again. Bereshit bara Elohim at hashmayim wa at ha'eretz. 7 words in Hebrew. There's 10 words in English, King James Bible. But that is not correct. There's 7 words, each word for 1,000 years. And we're going to go through that. Okay? And we know the 7th day will be the millennial kingdom, and the 8th day is eternity. That is the day without end, and there is no time to that day. We're right now in the 6th day. Let's go to day 1. Day 1. Day 1 is Bereshit. And Bereshit encompasses the sun. This one, I can't really show it to you the way I would like to, but this one word encompasses a whole lot of information, Bereshit. Encompasses the sun, who was the bane. Okay, bane is in this word, and bane means sun. It covers the thorns on the head, resh. Okay, you got the thorns on the head, resh. We know that Yahweh Shua had the thorns pressed on his head, and the word for tree, eitz, is in here in Bereshit, and also the word gift or the covenant is all in this one word. That means with the first word alone, Yahweh is telling us that He's giving His Son to build up the home as via a sacrifice on the tree. And this is His covenant with us, all in the one word. And this is the beginning. So, this is deep. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Psalm. And we know also that a day begins what we call at night. Sunset, when it is dark, begins the day. So a day starts from night to day, not from day to night. It starts from night, from evening to day starts a new day. So day 1 we got Bereshit, which gives us the prophecy of Yahweh Shua. And day 2, what happened on day 2? In day 2, which is around 1656, the flood happened. That happened in day 2. And in day 2, we have the only day, when you read through the creation story, the only day where Yahweh didn't say it is good was on day 2. And you say, why? Well, on day 2 is when the flood happened. He destroyed the whole earth and saved only 8 souls in the T-ball, the ark. The T-ball represents Yahweh Shua. In this day, He's going to destroy the whole earth again. For those who are who tabernacling in Yahweh Shua will be saved. Noach and the other 7 souls tabernacled in the T-ball and was saved from the waters. In today's time judgment, it will be a time of fire. And those who are tabernacling in Yahweh Shua will be saved. Now, so that's day 2. Day 3, the land appeared. Now, what happened in day 3 in our time? Now, we're talking about 1300 BC. This is around the 3,000th year. In the 3,000th year of man, we see that Israel is led out into the wilderness. We're led out into the wilderness, and we go through the Sea of Reeds, dry shod. The Sea of Reeds open up, and we go through dry shod. And we had the marriage covenant on Sinai. So day 3, in the 3,000th year of man, this is around 1300 BC, we get the dry land, we go through the wilderness, we go through the Sea of Reeds, and we go to Sinai, and we receive the covenant. The covenant happens on day 3. Day 4, this is beautiful. I really like day 4, it's so deep. Day 4, we have lights. And Yahweh said he made the lights for a sign. He made the lights for signs. And he made the greater light to rule by day, that's the sun. The lesser light to rule by night, that's the moon. He made the stars also. We are the stars. Now, this is interesting. Please pay attention to this. Now we have the sun represents Yahweh Shua. The moon represents Dawid. Remember, for the day starts in the night, so that means the moon begins the day. So Dawid came in the beginning of the 4th day, and we know when he was, he comes in 1,000 years BC. Dawid was born around 1,000 years BC, so that's the beginning of the 4th day. That's the moon. At the end of the 4th day, 1,000 years later, comes Yahweh Shua. He's the sun. So, and let's not miss the sun. Okay, let's not miss him. Because we missed him the first time when the star came down. Okay? Our half-brothers, the Ishmaelites, they were paying attention. He's going to come this time from the east on a cloud before the sun. Now, if you look deeper into the Bereshit, like I'm saying, this is a beautiful thing to see how Yahweh pays attention to all details. We know that Malachi says, Malachi 4:2, but to you who reverence my name, the shemesh of righteousness will arise with healing in his wings, and you will go out and grow like fat, stall-fed calves. And that's a beautiful promise. Now, when you look at it in English, it's strange. Yahweh Shua is called the Son of Righteousness. And we know that the sun is the #1 most worshipped idol in the history of mankind. But the Hebrew word for sun is shemesh. Shemesh. Why did he call him the shemesh of Sadiq? Because that cloud was going to come from the east. All clouds come from the west, but this cloud is going to come from the east, and he's going to come with healing. Now, he comes twice. If you look at the Bereshit, you see that the At comes twice. He comes the first time where he was the ruddy heifer, and he healed everyone, just like the ruddy heifer ashes with the living waters did for Yisrael when they followed Yahweh. So he did this again when he began his ministry. Yahweh Shua came through town and he healed everyone like the ruddy heifer. He had healing in his seats, healing in his wings. He is the Son of Righteousness. So that's the end of the 5th day. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, going back to the beginning of the 5th day, remember, Dawid, when he was running from his son Absalom, before he left, he went to the temple and took that rod, the rod of Aaron, with him. And he planted a Sabbath day's journey up on the Mount of Olives. He planted it right there. In faith in Yahweh, full of the Ruach, he did that. There's no way Dawid fully understand that whole process, but that's what he did. And that's when he wrote the 23rd Psalms. But that rod, 1,000 years later, that's what grew into the almond tree on the Mount of Olives that Yahweh Shua sacrificed himself on. Isn't that beautiful? Now, it did not begin growing. 100 years later, after Dawid, Hezekiah broke off the brass snake that was on it. Remember, it was a brass snake on it that the Israelites called Nehushtan, and they worshipped it. So it was an idol. But Hezekiah broke it off 100 years later. Then it started growing as the tree. Remember, Aaron's rod had budded almonds. It budded almonds even though it was an olive branch. It budded almonds. Remember that. So this is beautiful. It's deep. I don't know if I can really, if I'm conveying the beautiness of this. You got an almond tree on the Mount of Olives that the covenant was planned for way ahead of time. They didn't know these things then. We know it now because we're on this side of the sacrifice. But this was already preordained that Yahweh would die on an almond tree on the Mount of Olives. And that rod that took them, that did all the miracles, represented him. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. So you get this all on day 4. Hosea 6:2 says, after 2 days he will revive us. And on the 3rd day he will raise us up, that we may live in his sight. Isn't that beautiful? Do you think Hosea really understood what Ruach was saying through him? I mean, we know it now. That's the 3rd day resurrection of the Messiah, of HaMashiach, after he sacrificed himself. But I tell you, this is a beautiful thing. And we are the stars. So Dawid was the moon, Yahweh the sun, we're the stars. For all those who call on his name, we are saved. We have 2 appearings of Yahweh. This shows that we need to be keeping Shabbat and all the Moed, because Yahweh comes on time. He has appointed times, and everything he does happens at an appointed time. Yahweh was born under a full moon on the 1st day of Passover. He was circumcised on the last great day. The blood covenant. What's going to happen on the last great day is going to begin the eternal day. Okay, the 8th day of the world, and there'll be no more time. This is a beautiful thing. I'm trying my best. I guess I don't have enough of it in me. I'm hoping it's transferring to you, but study the word of Yah. Look at it more deeply. And what's even more deep is understanding that everything in Bereshit is connected. Everything is connected. I might have to do a separate lesson on how important the 1, the 2, and the 3, and the 4 is. Okay? You know, Yahweh is Achad. He is one. But Yahweh Shua, and you say, you've seen me, you've seen the Father. We are both one. But they're 2 in 1. And Yahweh Shua, like a vine, the true vine, the good vine, wraps around Yahweh, who is the tree of life. And remember, the first commandment of Yahweh is to be fruitful. So what is their fruitfulness? Ruach HaKodesh. And Ruach HaKodesh brings in us. It brings in all his people. So in everything, the first 4 is from Hashemayim. The last 3 is from earth. So you got 4 and 3, heaven and earth coming together. It's just a beautiful thing. So day 5. Day 5 is when Yahweh creates the creatures. And now the world is teeming with life. The world is teeming with life, and you got teams of birds and fishes and everything. What did Yahweh say about us? He's going to make us fishers of men. Fishers of men. So on the 5th day we get that, and this is the 1st century AD. What happens? Ruach HaKodesh is sent out to us, and the word of Yahweh grows and it spreads throughout the entire world. The world is teeming with the knowledge of Yahweh on the 5th day. So, of course, and then of course we are spread throughout the world because of our sins, but Yahweh allowed this for his purpose. All things work together for Tov, for good, for those who love Yahweh, for those who are called according to his purpose. So in our sins, we were spread throughout the whole world. But with that, we also sent out to the whole world the knowledge of Yah. So yes, we are under these seals of persecution. But in that, we must endure. Yahweh Shua, who is our example, he endured persecution. But what happened out of it? Fruitfulness. We must endure persecution, and out of that, in patience, we possess our souls. This is trying us like fire to purify us, to take out all the dross. We're going through these seals to be purified. So we'll be ready by the time of the trumpets. The first 4 trumpets, when they start blowing, we should have been purified by that time, but there's still some work to do. Day 6 is the age of man and beast. We're in day 6 right now. Number 6 is the number of man. Now, this is the time we know that there is mixing, and there's always a mixing. As in the days of Noah, so will these last days be. And in the days of Noah, you had the fallen angels mixing with man. You have man and beast mixing. They had mixed in teeming critters and pestilences with man. They're doing all that today. So we have fake people out here. We have mixed people out here. And it's spreading more and more. It's all about the image. Day 6 is about accepting the image of Yah or the image of the beast. Are you going to receive the seal of Yahweh or the mark of the beast? This is day 6 right now. And this is the day that he created man after his image. Shaitan is corrupting this image at this time right now. So we have Yahweh on the right, Shaitan on the left. Which one are we going to take? The seal of Yahweh or the mark of the beast? This is a very important time. Also about the 6th day, we know that when we were in the wilderness, that on the 6th day, Yahweh, Yahweh, who is the bread of life, came down with double blessings of manna because they were not to gather on the 7th day. So they had enough to eat on 2 days. Yahweh is the manna, the bread of life. What do we have today? Double knowledge. We have more and more knowledge of Yahweh than anyone has ever had in the history of the world. We have all this information because we're on this side of the sacrifice. The great prophets in the so-called Old Testament did not know what we know here in the so-called New Testament, the Brit Hadashah. We know what we know now because the sacrifice has happened. And now we know even more today than even our first century fathers were on the earth because we seeing more and more of it. Yahweh is still revealing himself. He's opening up his hand. Look at it like this. The first letter of alphabet is Aleph. That represents Yahweh. But the Yod is the first letter of his name. Yod He Wah He. And it represents Yahweh's revelation. And it's a partially open hand. So if I have 4 quarters in my hand and I opened up only enough for you to see 1 quarter, you think I have a quarter in my hand and you accept the quarter. But if I say, wait a minute, and I open my hand a little more, you see 2 quarters. Oh, 50 cents, that's even better. But if I stop you again and say, well, and open my hand up further, you see 3 quarters. If you have accepted the first offering, you would have received less. If you waited a little while with more patience, you would have had more. If you waited with even more patience, you would have had more. But guess what? There's still more. Yahweh has 4 quarters in his hand. And he hasn't opened it all up yet. And we will see that at the end. So we shall be like him. We will see him as he is. That's when we get the full revelation of Yahweh. We should know, based on the Moed, the Moedim, the appointed times, the season of his return. We're not going to know the exact detail, but that will be revealed in the final last great day. So we know that the 7th day is the millennial kingdom. We are fast approaching the 7th day. And on the 7th day, this world will get its rest. The land will get its rest. Those who love Yahweh, those who are who tabernacle in the Tibah. The Tibah is the ark. It is Yahweh Shua. We will be preserved and we will love him. We need to love him now because there's not going to be no option during the millennial kingdom. We're going to he is our only option, our only one. And that's all we're going to have. We're not going to have all this funny games we have now. Love him now, you'll love him then. If you don't love him now, you're going to be forced to keep those 613 commandments. And when the Shaitan comes back, then you will fall and go with him again because you followed him under force. Day 8, after that millennial kingdom, is Judgment Day. That's the eternal kingdom with no time. There will be no need for the sun, moon, and the stars for time, because Yahweh's wristwatch is complete, time and eternity. So we will ever be with Yahweh, sure, those who love him. He will tabernacle with us. Now, how is Yahweh fair in his judgment of those? Remember, he chose a covenanted people. He chose the Iberit. But there are many who not in the covenant, and many who have died never even knowing the covenant. How is Yahweh fair in judging them? Well, you have what's called the Noahide laws. Genesis 1:28, the first commandment says to be fruitful and multiply. There was no separate group of people. That was the first commandment that he made to man, was to be fruitful and multiply. The second commandment was a seed diet. He told them what to eat, and they were commanded to eat things that had seed. Okay? And then the third commandment was don't mix. It was an abomination to mix. Yahweh made everything after its kind to procreate its kind. He did not want us to try to play Yahweh, try to be creative and do mixing. That was the third commandment. This has nothing to do with being Hebrew or Jew or anything else. These are laws that were given to all souls. So the Noahide laws condemns those who are not under the covenant. Remember, there was one of the greatest books I've ever read. As a child, we had to read Lord of the Flies. And that book, it's been a long time since I'm going to try to go by what I remember. But I do know that I think there was a plane crash or something, and there was a bunch of the children survived. I think it was all boys, or boys and girls survived. The parents were dead. So now they're on an island with no parents. So they had to govern themselves. And different boys rose for their power or whatever, and they made a government, and then of course anarchy eventually ensued, and there was a lot of upheaval. But the point is, naturally, they knew they had to have some kind of rules and laws. They were all boys, young boys, with no headship, but they knew that they could not just go and just do what they wanted to do. They had to have some kind of order and structure. Yahweh has put this in us naturally. So one of the Noahide laws is that there must be a government. You must govern people with laws. And he put in us naturally already the law of procreation, the law of not mixing, and to keep things after its kind. That was natural. Now, having done that, you all have to have a government. This is why Sodom and Gomorrah, that's why those 5 cities were burned, because they didn't follow any laws or regulations. They were unnatural. They would treat anyone who came to their towns wickedly. They would burn. Yahweh destroyed them because they violated the Noahide laws. They were not under covenant to Yahweh. Yahweh had been unjust to burn down Sodom and Gomorrah and those other 3 towns if there was no law that they broke. They were not covenanted to him. He had no relationship with them, but he did have the Noahide laws, which governs all of the creation, and they would not even abide by that. That's why they were destroyed. And there are other Noahide laws that you do not worship idols. Yahweh gave us common sense to know that if we plant something, we initiated it, we grew it, that it did not create us. So how are you going to plant a tree, then the tree grows up, and you chop it down, use some of it to build a house, some of it to warm the house, and then leave the remnants of it to make a god out of it and worship it? Common sense tells you that that's foolishness. So one of the Noahide laws is do not worship idols. How are you going to worship an animal which is less than you? How are you going to make something and then worship it? So Yahweh is justified in judging all men who worship idols. Do not curse El was another one of the Noahide laws. How are you going to, the Lashon HaKodesh, everyone spoke Lashon HaKodesh in the beginning. You cannot curse with that mouth. You cannot bless and curse out of the same mouth. You cannot do that. And then also, do not murder. We know that we did not create life. We did not create creation. So we're not to take creation. It is natural to know that you do not murder someone. Why else do we think that Cain knew that he was wrong when he murdered his brother? He knew it automatically. Although there was no laws written in stone, he knew that it was wrong to kill. So there's also no laws against adultery, bestiality, sexual immorality. These things they all knew, and not to eat blood and flesh of animals. We were given a diet from the beginning, and it did not include blood. It did not include eating things with blood. And we also know we're not supposed to mix. So Yahweh is justified in all his judgments, all his judgment he metes out to us. Genesis 26:5 tells us that Abraham kept all 613 of Yahweh's commandments, judgments, and statutes, not written down. And we need to get back, and we will get back to this in the millennial kingdom, where eventually, after 1,000 years of keeping all of these commandments, they're going to have to learn to keep them now in their hearts. They're going to have to accept Yahweh Shua. If they don't, when that 1,000 years is up, and try to enter the kingdom through their righteousness of keeping the laws, they are not going to enter into the eternal kingdom. They're going to accept the lies of Hashatan again. So we see that Adam, spelled Aleph, Dalet, Mem. After the fall, words then had two meanings. They've always had two meanings, but the negative one is understood only in disobedience. So Adam is Aleph, Dalet, Mem. Aleph represents Yahweh, Dalet is a door, Mem is many, multitude. It could be chaos, but in the beginning it wasn't chaos. So we see that the head, which is Yahweh, is the door to all peoples. But once Adam sinned, he tried to usurp himself over Yahweh, and he is the door of blood, because the word for blood is dam. Man was not created with blood. We were created from the things of the earth. Everything, all the minerals and vitamins of the earth were put into man. And there was no blood in the earth. So that means we were not created with blood. Now we do have blood because of the fall of man. Yahweh Shua is the second Adam. And he is the first and only one to be able to live in the flesh and not fall to the sin of blood. That's because the blood was not imprinted with sin. He obeyed Yahweh every time. Here I am, he said, every time, obeying the voice, so he did not put any imprint of sin on his blood. We sin because our blood remembers sin. So it doesn't matter how much you forgive your brother or how much Yahweh forgives you, our blood still remembers. If we don't imprint sin on it, we will not remember it. So the less imprinting we do on it, the cleaner we are. Yahweh Shua never had any sin imprinted in his blood. So we find that, but Adam had great wisdom in naming. That's why he named his Isha Hawa, because Hawa is life. He knew how to put words, he knew how to put letters together and create with words, because he was given that wisdom from Yahweh. That's why he was able to name all of the beasts of the field. They all came to him. He gave them their name based on their ruach, based on the nefesh in them. And they understood, they spoke just like he did. All animals spoke just like man. And they received their names and they went on. Shaitan did not want to honor Adam. He says, hey, I'm made out of fire, and you made this out of dirt. You want me to honor him? Yahweh let him accept the challenge. He said, you go ahead. If you think you are above this man, this creature, name these creatures that I made. The creatures were lined up before Adam and Shaitan. Shaitan was not able to name anything. He did not have the wisdom. He did not have the discernment to discern Ruach and Nefesh to apply a name to it. It had never been done before. But Adam, made after the image of Yahweh, knew it. And he was able to name the creatures. He won the battle right there. that should have humbled Shaitan right there, but it did not. It only increased his hatred, his anger, and his pride. So we see that another thing that we want to, when you read the word of Yahweh, realize that Yah tempts nobody. Yahweh is light, and in him is no choshet, and Yahweh is or. And when Yahweh says, let there be or, what he was saying is, let the creation be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. It was not light as we see it, the sun. That came later. That came on the fourth day. But he said, on the third day, he said that let the earth be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. That's what or means. It means everything created had in it eternity. It all recognized that it was created, and it all wants to live. Everything naturally wants to live. That's why it eats, and that's why it procreates. Naturally, no one has to teach it to eat or teach it to want to procreate. Also, it naturally tries to defend itself. Even if it's a worm, if you poke a worm, it retreats from what you poke it with because it naturally wants to live, naturally. If you swat at a fly, it flies away from it. It doesn't stay there and let you just smash it and kill it. It wants to live. You always feel everything in creation to want to live. And any temptations we have comes from the imprinting of our blood. And we follow after it, which is the lust of our own hearts. And we fall to temptation when we are outside of Yahweh. When we're outside of Yahweh, that leads us into temptation. Yahweh does not lead us in temptation. He delivers us from it when we're under his covering, under his wings. So that's what this ministry is all about. My ministry is all about Yahweh for Christians is teaching us to get in the T-bar, get in the ark. The ark is Yahweh Shua. Yahweh Shua, think about it. Noach's name, you can't get this in English. Noach's name is spelled Nun Het. Nun Het, Noach. Chain means mercy. Chain is spelled Het Nun, just the opposite. Yahweh had mercy on Noah, and they all got into the ark for safety. Yahweh is having grace on us also today. In his son is grace. His son is grace. It's the opposite of the name of Noah is Chain, spelled the same way with the letters turned around. You can't get these things in English. You can't do it. What about when Yahweh Shua passed over those who had the blood on the lintel? Even in the modern Hebrew letters, the Het is shaped with two doorposts and a lintel on the top of it. If you use a pictographic Hebrew, it's just a lintel on top. But we know a door has two posts on it. Yahweh told them to put blood, was represented his son's sacrifice, on the lintel, and you had to put it on the post. Okay? So let's use my window here as an example. You have the lintel, and you have two posts. The blood had to be put on that. That is the letter Het. Het. And Het is the when Yahweh saw that, which is mercy, he passed over. Even if an Egyptian put the blood on the lintel, on the post, the destroying angel passed over them. He did not destroy them. You cannot get that in English. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. So, again, like I said, the Torah begins with Bayet, not Aleph, because Yahweh is Or. Yahweh is light. And light cannot abide with wickedness. It cannot abide with evil. And we see that the earth was not created, but recreated. So his son did that. Yahweh did not recreate the earth. His son recreated the earth. Let's go to Psalm 18:11. Psalm 18:11, and it reads like this. He made darkness his secret place. His canopy around him was dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. So we see that Yahweh hides in the darkness. There's brightness before him, but his booming voice, his creative voice is what we hear. Faith comes by hearing. Everything must live by faith. Even the Malachim and Hashemayim live by faith. They live by faith in what they hear. They hear the creative voice of the Most High, not by seeing him. And he hides himself from us to keep from consuming us. He is a consuming fire. But yet his desire is to tabernacle with us. Yahweh Shua says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. You've seen the Father and me are one. So he will tabernacle with us once everything is cleaned up by the blood and the mayim, the water, the dome, why mayim, the blood and water. Remember, out of Yahweh Shua's side came blood and water. Once everything is created, once Shaitan is destroyed and all his angels are burning up forever, then we will see the full opening of Yahweh's hand, the full revelation of Yahweh. Elohim is Ein Sof, the source of all with no end. In him is light and no darkness at all. It's called Ein Sof. Or it's the knowledge of Yahweh. And remember, I told you that how everything was made with eternity in their hearts. That comes from Ecclesiastes 3:11. Yahweh gave everything with an understanding of a being eternal. And he made everything in love. Love is the sustenance of all things. It sustains us. And right now, we, his people, are sustaining the earth. If we all die and go away, this earth would be destroyed immediately. Our love, our brotherly love is sustaining the earth right now. Love your brother and do not murder him. John, everybody knows about John 3:16. Let me read it all the way through verse 21. Yahweh so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. We all know that. Because Yahweh did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahweh. And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. Everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light unless his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen, that they have been done in Yah. So go past John 3:16. See that the condemnation comes to those who do not accept Yahweh Shua. You're not just saved because you open your mouth and say it. You are saved by accepting his son. You're not saved, you can't go to Yahweh. You can't go to Yahweh. You cannot go to him. You have to go to him through his son. His son brings you to him, but Ruach HaKodesh brings you to his son. And if you don't accept him in the name of him, you are condemned already. It's right here in the book. Read the other verses past verse 16. Yahweh continues to create. As he speaks, he creates. If he didn't speak, the world would, all of the universe would fall apart if he didn't create. We sustain him. We sustain him by what comes out of our mouths. We need to watch what comes out of the shores of our mouth, because everything we say, we will be judged by. Lamentations 3:22 and 23. Through Yahweh's mercies, we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Toda Yah, for his hesed, for his chen, for his mercy, which endures forever. We were dispersed out through all the world in our disobedience, but Yahweh will gather us back together. And we were spread out to share the Besorah message. This is the Besorah message. They call it the gospel. It is the Besorah message. It is a message that Yahweh Shua is our salvation. He is, he was, and he will be. He is our salvation. And we need that now, today. How many more of our brothers and sisters and fathers' blood do you need to see roll down the streets before you believe? Or are you going to keep on voting and marching and rioting and sloganeering? That is not your salvation. Those things will not transfer into the kingdom. Only those things that are built on the solid rock of Yahweh will transfer into the kingdom. Remember, I taught about the mystery of the redeemed bride ordinance. It's called hookah, which is a prescribed enactment or statute. An ordinance is hookah. It's miracle redemption. It's like this. When Israel was caught between the Egyptians, the Egyptians in the Sea of Reeds, that it took a miracle to get them out of it. And when a miracle is needed, then you know that it was Yahweh. It was not your hand that did it. The salvation of our souls after we have sullied ourselves with receiving the world's doctrine, receiving the world's God, Lord, and Jesus, Christmas and Easter. How could we possibly be saved? It took miracle redemption to do that. It took a miracle redemption to do that. And that shows you how much he loves us. That Yahweh, with him, all things are possible. Only he can clean up what is dirty. Only he can purify what was filthy. And that is what he did for us. 1 John 1, 5 through 7, and beginning part of verse 5 through 7. Yahweh is Or, and in him is no Hoshek at all. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in Hoshek, Hoshek is darkness, we lie and do not practice Emet. Emet is truth. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. And the blood of Yahweh, HaMashiach, his bane, cleanses us from all sin. So we see that there's no mixing of light and darkness. Even that we got so many Hebrew brothers and our Jewish brothers who are mixing Yahweh with Jesus, mixing Yahweh with the Lord. There's no leavening. Yahweh, one of the Noahide laws, before even there was a Moshe, is do not mix. Don't mix. It hurts my heart to see great men and women who know this book and who can read fluent Hebrew, which I can't, and they labor in the name of the Most High. It just hurts my heart. Now, in these last days, we talked about the 7 so-called churches. Remember, this is going to be labored out of us, because Smyrna, even though they did nothing wrong, Yahweh made them go through 10 more days of tribulation before he came to meet them. Bringing Yehuda with Ephraim and bring the two sticks together. But before that, Smyrna had to be purified 10 more days of persecution to get out every last little bit of leaven from them. And one of those things is leavening and mixing his name. Yahweh has always planned to incorporate the Gentiles with us. He's never just planned on saving us. Abraham left his home and went out into the world. And he transformed the whole region with the knowledge and the letters of Yahweh. That's how he got everyone to communicate with each other. He is the progenitor of the internet. Okay? And he taught the language with incorporating with the other nations around him's language. And then we know we have Jacob went to Egypt. So we went to Egypt, we went to Goshen. So even though, but we stayed separate, but we went into the Gentiles and we demonstrated to them Yahweh. And Jonah went to Nineveh, and when he refused Yahweh, put him in the fish. Why did he go to Nineveh? They were not Hebrew. Yahweh has always meant for his word to go to the four corners of the earth. Read Ezekiel 34:13. So one of the things we want to realize is that, let's go Isaiah 49:16 as I begin to wrap this up. Isaiah 49:16. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me. Yahweh Shua has our names written in his hand. It took 3 years in the Garden of Gethsemane of praying all night to call out all of our names as he lifted his hands up to his Ab, his Father. 3.5 years as he looks into those hands with our names in them, looks into the hands and calls our names out. And he lost not one. Remember, us receiving the Torah started out with Moshe going after one sheep, one wayward sheep. That was Yahweh's man to give us the Torah, and it started off with going after one sheep. It's going to end the same way. Yahweh Shua is the Tov shepherd, the good shepherd, and he goes after he leaves the 99 to get the one. 3 years to pray for all of us, to call our names out, our new names that he will give us. And he loses not one. 2 Corinthians 4:6, it is Yahweh who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the kabod of Yahweh in the face of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. So Yahweh commands the light into the darkness, that is us. I'm commanded to do what I'm doing now. I'm sharing this light to those who do not know it. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Ephesians 5:8, you were once in darkness, but now you are in light. Okay? And so walk as children of light. So don't forget where you came from. Remember, we were slaves in Mizraim. If you're in lightness now, remember, you came from darkness. And all revelation starts from dark to light. Share the light in humbleness, in the wisdom, and the power of Yahweh. Finally, Isaiah 49:6. Indeed, he says, it is too small a thing that you should be my Iber, okay? That means my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles, that you should be my Hoshea, that means my salvation, to the ends of the earth. This thing is not about black lives. Stop it. Stop it. It's about all lives. All lives matter. Yahweh Shua, we came out of Mizraim as a speckled bird. Ephraim comes up from the north to meet with Yehuda from the south, and its two sticks will be joined together as one. Until next week, Yisrael, Yehonatan for Christians. Shalom Alakim. Hallelujah.